Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. In today's video I'm going to do a full face of my Holy Grail products. So I've got my favorite foundation, my favorite primer, all of that stuff, and I'm just going to play with makeup and chat. And if you're new here, welcome. My name is Colin. I'm a non-binary Latinx scientist and lover of makeup with a particular interest in indie makeup and high-end makeup, and I tend to take a pretty analytical approach to my reviews and my collection as a whole. And I have new videos every week, so I'd love to have you subscribe. So, I haven't done any makeup yet. I just have some skincare on and some brow gel. I did grab last year's Byredo palette. I did want to play with this. I really want to buy the new one, but I haven't yet. So I thought I would play with this one today because I haven't used it in a little while. I think I'm hoping to film 2 videos back to back, this one and then another one right after. And those will probably be the only videos this week because today is Monday and I start my new job tomorrow. And so I'll be out of the house from 9 to 5 or so, plus, travel, the rest of the week. So we'll see what happens as I get used to this new schedule. So I don't normally get any fallout with this palette, but I'm gonna do my eyes first. It is pretty common for me to do that. So I'm going to start with some primer, and I'm going to use the Nars. I do have a little bit left of my Urban Decay, and I haven't done a side-by-side comparison yet, but I think I am liking this more, just based on using this with palettes that I've used with the Urban Decay many times. Okay, so it is already May 24th, not May, wow, it really jumped me ahead, April 24th, and I really do not understand how it is already the end of April. Like, this year is just flying by, not necessarily in the best way, but it is flying by. So this is the Byredo Flora Kalahari palette. I have a video where, after I got this, I've used it on a camera a few times. This came out last year. They just launched the Remembrance palette, which is very rosy, neutral, really pretty. It's really basic, but it's really pretty and I really want it. But this is last year's palette. I really love the formula. This is the first time I tried Byredo's formula. I tried it in person at one of their shops in LA, and I was like, instantly had to have it. And I think I want to use this bronzy shade here, but we'll see. So I'm just gonna go in. I'm gonna start with this matte and then probably that one. So I'm excited to start the new job tomorrow. And I have a feeling actually being forced to get up and get out of the house every morning is gonna make me actually use my makeup a little bit more. There's some days I don't wear it at all right now, but I do like to look put together when I go in when I went into the lab or when I went into work. So I have a feeling I'll probably, because I'm getting used to a new schedule, I'll probably do a lot of one and done. Like, I'll probably use my Lisa Eldridge shadows a lot this week. I was torn between filming like my go-to daily look lately or this Holy Grail products, but I went with this. So if you want to see my everyday look, I do want to film that soon. So maybe that'll be next week. Really love this formula. I'm picking it up on a rougher one. This is my go-to brush for most things just because of the shape. So like I've always said, you don't need necessarily this brush, but they are having a sale right now. But, and this is the Pro handle, which is not in stock right now, but it's got a nice pinch shape to it. So it's fluffy, but you still have enough of a flat surface that you can really put stuff down. I used this palette like non-stop when I first got it, and I've used it every so often since, but I haven't used it in a few weeks. So, really like this formula. It really just melts into your skin and blends really beautifully. It's very soft. It's not as pigmented as others. I think a lot of people want either really soft makeup or really pigmented makeup. There's not a lot in the middle. Part of the reason I like Pat McGrath's mattes is because they're really pigmented, but they blend out, so you can have them sheer versus like a Viseart that starts a little more sheer and builds up. And that's some people's favorite. I like both of those a lot. This is a little bit more on the pigment, but builds versus like super pigmented right off the bat. And then using the same brush, I'm just gonna go into the slightly cooler shade over here. It's a little bit darker. And I'm gonna put that right over here. So it's already in the afternoon. Normally I do my makeup and film earlier in the day. So it's already 4 something. So I'm going to do this look, and then I need to go to the grocery store and the pharmacy and a bunch of that stuff, and then, you know, make dinner. I need to plan makeup and outfits for this week at work too. So those two blended together really nicely. It's been a really busy couple days, especially doctor's appointment wise. I had a couple last week, and then I had a couple today. After waiting, I've mentioned this on the channel before, that I have chronic pain issues, and I've had them for a long time. Probably looking back since I was like 15, maybe even earlier. I started seeing doctors, like rheumatologists, to see if I had like juvenile onset arthritis when I was 16 or 17, I think 16, because I have a cousin that did. So they thought maybe that was the cause. But I did finally get in after a year of waiting to the pain management clinic here that I had a referral to. And right away, they were like, they looked at my records, they looked at everything, I answered a bunch of questions, and they were like, oh yeah, you have fibromyalgia. Your primary care doctor was right, you do. So they've put me on a new medication and recommending, like, you know, exercise, better sleep, maybe physical therapy. There's, you know, a bunch of stuff. So it's nice to have the official diagnosis instead of just having doctors say, okay, you're in pain, I don't know why though, so go see someone else. So I'm just going into this bronze shimmer here. These two look pretty similar. This one has a little bit more pink to it, and this one's a little more bronze. So I'm going into that one, just because I'm in the mood for that. I might layer, we'll see. These shadows do layer really nicely together. I can see why, or how, like, Isamaya French's touch with her brand and this, like, formula-wise, I can see they're not the same formula, but I can see that overlap. I did pick up another one of these during the Refer sale, and it did ship, so I'm excited to get that. So I'll have 3 or 4 of these now, because I use them every day. This is the Refer 21. I think I might add the gold or something. And then this one down here is a really pretty, like, pink gold duochrome. I can see this shift really strongly right now, but I think I'm gonna use the gold. My go-to is the green, of course. And I wanna see, let's try it with my finger. I just wanna see the difference. So that was layered up lightly with the brush. Yeah, the finger definitely, you get more metallic feel, which is what I, you know, remember, but I'm gonna put a little bit on the other eye with my finger too. I normally try to respond to like every comment I get, just because I'm not that big of a channel yet, so I can. But because my work schedule is changing, and I'm actually gonna be like in an office dealing with people and dealing with other stuff, I will be slower to respond to comments for the next little while I get adjusted. So just a heads up on that. This is a really soft, blends really nicely into the brown. I've used this shade before and then just buffed the edges with the brown, but I didn't feel like doing that today, because you might get a little bit of sparkle fallout if you do that. And then I'm just gonna pick up a little bit of the gold, and if any of you have picked up the newest Byredo palette, I would love to know your thoughts. I know Jamila has it and just posted a video. Alicia Archer, her video, I already wanted it, but watching her swatches made me want it even more. And then Who else has a video? Someone else just posted a video. I have no idea. I haven't been watching as much YouTube lately, just because I've been not at home or been doing stuff. Okay, so eyes are pretty much done. I'm doing a very soft look today, but it looks really pretty. I think I might use this a bunch this week. I'll go in with liner and all that stuff at the end. So for now, I'm gonna move on to my face. And I'm just gonna use my Milk Primer. This is the, what is this called? The Pore Eclipse. And I just like that this is it feels really nice on the skin, very cooling, but it also adds a nice blur and really mattifies nicely without looking dry. I really want to get the setting spray version that they just came out with, but I have 3 bottles of the Urban Decay right now, 2 of the regular and 1 of the De-Slick, because I got like a bundle, and so I don't need setting spray. So once those are lower, like once those are gone or I'm down to 1 bottle, I'll buy the other one. But there's no point in buying it when I have like 1 full bottle and 2 half bottles. There's just no point. Also, I don't know if you'll be able to see it. I can see it in my monitor, but I feel like it cuts it a little bit when I go to edit. But Bean made a bed on the couch with the throw blankets and is sleeping right there. We were snuggling for a little bit earlier. She's gonna be very mad when I'm not home as much this week. She did fine when I was teaching over the summer, but that was also like half days every day, so like it was a little bit different. I haven't been like out of the house in a long time, so she's gonna be very clingy and upset. And now I'm gonna go in with the Haus Labs foundation. This is my favorite foundation. I do also really love the Lisa Eldridge. I don't own it. I just use samples a bunch. And I do really wanna buy the new Lisa Eldridge cleanser mask thing and spray. I haven't yet, but I could probably will. And this is just, it looks like skin. It's the best shade match I've had. This and Lisa Eldridge are kind of tied for best shade match. The Kosas has a really good shade match as well. And it does, I like the way my skin looks with it, but I can feel it a little bit more. It's a little thicker. And they recommend you use a sponge with it, and I prefer fingers or brush, so I think that's part of why it feels thicker. So I just put a pump on the back of my hand. That's probably all I'll need. And then I'm just gonna use my Sonia G jumbo base brush like normal. I do have a handful of brushes I use for my base, but since getting this, it is my go-to. And I do really, really light layers. I'll often just use my fingers, but because I'm filming, I don't want to. I don't really want to, also sometimes I do my concealer first and I forgot. I don't really want to have foundation all over my hands while I'm sitting here filming and I'm not right next to a sink. I would say this is my Holy Grail foundation brush, but oddly enough next to it would be this ColourPop blush brush. It's like just the right dense to fluffy ratio for a synthetic brush that I really like it. Not for blush. I'm stumbling on my words today. Not for blush, but for foundation. It gives a nice feathered look into the skin. And thankfully I bought a new razor type and a new skincare thing. So my razor burn has been a lot less bad, so I don't have to put as much makeup down here to cover my angry skin. I can't wait till I can afford to have laser hair removal down here. Maybe my whole face, but at least down here. It's just expensive. I really hate shaving. I don't mind the way I look with facial hair up here. I hate any down here though. But there's something about facial hair, or I don't mind the way I look, but having any facial hair immediately makes people call me he, and it's just very disorienting to have people, like have markers that make people misgender you. Even if they know, sometimes they do it. So, just by accident, by looking more masculine, people just fuck up more, I guess. I don't know. And then I'm gonna go in with my favorite concealer. This is the Kosas Revealer Concealer. This one is pretty much dead. So I am thinking about buying the Givenchy. I don't know if this is the one I bought or got in PR. I've bought 2 or 3 tubes of this, and I've gotten a couple tubes of it in PR, so I don't know. But I really want to try the Givenchy after Khaki compared it. Khaki also really loves this concealer, and then she loves that really expensive Chanel foundation that I can't buy. And she was like, I could do my whole face instead of using either of those, just use my whole face, and that kind of sold me. And then price per milliliter, it's actually cheaper than the Kosas. So today's the last day of the Sephora sale, and I might order it. I did go, there's one store in town, in the area, that sells Givenchy, and I went and looked at the shades, and I'm still torn between 2, so I might buy both. And the one that I'm like 80% sure will work, try that first, but just have the other one there so I can have it at a sale price. Because most days I don't even wear foundation, I just wear concealer all over. I use 2, one under my eyes and one around my, stubble and stuff. But I was torn. One was like a little bright, and one was like pretty much my skin tone, but maybe slightly darker, but we're also going into summer, so I'm gonna have a tan soon, just because I tan without even trying, even with sunscreen on. So we'll see. And I don't like an overly bright concealer anyway. I think it looks weirdly unnatural for the type of makeup I do. But I might buy that. I also saw that everything from Melt is discounted at Sephora, and I have most of the cream blush lights. They're my favorite cream blush, so I might buy the one that I don't have, because it is in stock and it'll end up being like $13. So spent a bunch of money at Sephora during the sale, but most of it has been like, I bought like 4 items for myself, and everything else has been like sunscreen and skincare and shampoo and things that like we just as a couple needed, like our go-to product, but replacements. I really want another 1 or 2 of these. This is the Jumbo Worker Perfect Concealer Brush, and then I really want to get the mini base and the classic base, I think. It's one that's a little smaller than this, but good for buffing the skin, and then the mini, yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna do a little bit of cream bronzer and then powder bronzer and powder everything else. I'm gonna go in with the Fenty cream bronzer. I have the shade Teddy. It's a dark bronzer, but it has a really good undertone, and mine looks disgusting because brush hairs and stuff get in it, but it's the perfect undertone. So I do really like it. And I just do a light, that was like 1 dip. And it looks less dark on the skin, but you can build it up, so I can wear it in the winter and the summer. I've tried a couple other cream bronzers, and this is just the best undertone wise and really nice formula, so I just stick with it. Okay, and then for blush, I'm gonna use the Melt Cream Blush Light in Sandy Cheeks. This is my favorite cream blush formula that I've tried. I did just get one from Rose Inc, and it's nice, very subtle, but this is still my favorite, and this is my favorite color. I also pulled out the Rare Beauty Liquid Blush, but I think I'm feeling this formula instead. It's a cream blush, but it lasts really well on the skin, and it dries down enough that it's not like fully matte, but like it's not moving or transferring or looking weird. my go-to in the summer. It says you can use it on the eyes and stuff too. I've not done that because I have fairly oily eyelids, and the one time I tried it just like creased it, you know, and looked weird. If I'm gonna use a cream or liquid on my eyes, it has to be something that like sets down matte. So for powder, I have two Holy Grail powders, the Haus Labs loose powder and then the Kosas. I grabbed the Kosas today, but honestly, they're both equal in my mind. I just feel like using the Kosas today. So I'm just gonna set my under eyes with this, and then kind of lightly dust the rest of my face. I use the shade Cushiony, by the way, which is kind of the golden one. I also have the neutral, the like medium neutral toned one, and I've used it and it is nice, but this is just better shade wise for me, undertone wise. And then Holy Grail bronzer, of course, is Haus Labs. So I'm gonna go in with this a little bit to kind of set the edges of my face. And my hair is getting in the way. It's not like I even have long hair anymore either. I love this for both my face and the eyes. I use this, especially if I'm doing a one and done shade, I often just use this in my crease or just on days where I want to do no makeup. Yesterday me and my best friend went to one of the local bars. They're doing a new drag competition show for smaller local queens, and the grand prize is like $4,000. It's a 6-week thing. Really proud of them. They've done a lot of work. It was a great show. And it's Sunday nights, but it's 7 o'clock, so it's perfectly reasonable time-wise. But last night was the first one. It was great. I ran into some friends I hadn't seen in a while. Some of which are also drag queens, just they weren't performing. And it was so good to be out of the house and feel better and like be around people. It was really great. But yesterday, throughout the day and then to the show, I wore this in my crease and then Falcon Noir from the Pat's little potted shadows that came out with the Star Wars collection. That on my lid blended into it, and that was it, and some mascara, and it looked so nice. I might wear that again this week to work. It was like a nice charcoal smoky eye without being too dark or too much. I'm now going into the Haus Labs blush. This is the Pomelo Peach shade. And I'm just adding it on top of the melt. The melt is definitely a little more orange leaning. It's like an orange peach. I think they describe it as a burnt peach. And then you can see the Haus Labs is definitely a little more pinky peach next to it. But I think I like a peach or an orange blush, and they work really well together. And this is definitely as pink as I like to go for a blush. It's like pink with orange. I think I was just watching Hope Mess Tom's newest video while my husband was like on a phone call and I couldn't film. And they were talking about this blush and how some like on khaki, a lot of them are like pink that lean a little orange, and Hope Mess Tom's peach blushes were all like orange with a little bit of pink. And now I've got one of each with me today. Okay, I really like the way this is all looking. I'm gonna grab a small brush. This is a Refer 2. It's just a little smudgy, packy brush. And I'm gonna go into that first brown shade, and I'm just gonna run that underneath my eye. And then I'm gonna pick up on the same brush a little bit of the darker, cooler brown, and I'm just gonna tap a little bit there just to make sure that there's the depth I want. If I wanted more smoke, what I probably would have done is started with a liner, since this has a black, but it's a sparkly black. So if you ever have a palette that doesn't have a dark shade that you want, you can grab something from another palette or grab like a dark eyeliner and use, you know, put that on the edge, smudge the edge out here and use that as a base. And that'll add a nice bit of depth outside of the palette. I am going to use black coffee today as liner, but I didn't feel like smudging it and making this more smoky. Okay, all of this. I do have my Haus Labs highlighter here. I grabbed the shade Peach Quartz. I do really like this one. I feel like, I don't know if I need, I'm gonna use it as, I don't know. I'm gonna use it as an inner corner highlight, I think. I don't know if I need it on my cheeks because I used a glowy blush. So I'm just grabbing a pencil brush, picking up a little bit of that. I am excited for this job. I mean, it's a temporary job, so I am still waiting to hear back on other stuff, and who knows, it might become permanent, so that'd be nice. But I really like the people I'm gonna be working with, and it'll be really nice to have income again and not just rely on my husband and savings. But less time to film, and I am a little worried about how it's gonna affect my long COVID fatigue and health, you know, being out and about more, but fingers crossed everything goes fine. And I am gonna put a little bit of that on my cheeks as well, because why not? So I'm just picking it up on my Lunar Beauty brush. I like this for highlighter because it's really flimsy and it doesn't pick up too much, so I can like start slow and build up. I sometimes like a blending highlighter, but I'd rather start kind of like Hopeless Tom and eyeshadow. I'd rather start subdued and build up to my desired level versus right off, like bam, right out of the gate. Okay, so I'm gonna throw a little bit of black coffee from Pat McGrath on and a lip and mascara, and I will be right back. Okay, so I'm back. I went ahead and added black coffee from Pat McGrath. This is tied right now with Haus Labs as my favorite eyeliner formula. This one's a little more smudgy, but really, really love this. Love this color for everyday especially. Works really well in the waterline, so I have it in the waterline, and then I just did a little line on the top of my lashes. I tight lined with it as well, and then I used this to make sure, you know, to smudge it on my upper lash. And then I used my absolute favorite mascara, the Izumea Rubber Lash. Probably need to buy a new one of those soon. Don't really want to spend that much money on one, but it's hands down my favorite mascara. And then I put on Lisa Eldridge Meet Me in Berlin, which is I would say her lipstick formula is my holy grail formula. Although, you know, there's different types, but this color is my perfect everyday shade. It's like a rosy brown, perfect, satin, really comfortable. I did buy Merit 1990 during the Sephora sale, and I was kind of worried they'd be similar, but they are not. Merit is a little more balmy, so the texture is fully different, but it's definitely a little more opaque right off the bat, and I just hit myself. And it's a little more brown, so very much the 90s neutral to cool brown, and this has a little bit more red in it. I did like half my lip with each just to see, and this looked very rosy next to it. Like that's how neutral it is. They made this look rosy, not brown. So really like the look. This is, I mean, on a day-to-day, I'd probably use less layers, probably just use concealer and not use both cream and powder blush and all of that, but this is, you know, a go-to-work look, a little more in-depth one. But really happy with how my face came out. All of this, I mean, I used all my holy grail, so I'm not surprised that my makeup came out nice. I thought about using other holy grail palette. Eyeshadow is the hard thing, but because I really love this formula and I'm really wanting to buy the new one, I figured a good chance to use this on camera. So those are all my holy grails. Well, not all of my holy grails, but I have more holy grails, so I can always do more of these videos with different faces. But this was a whole face with my absolute favorite products. This, I'm hoping I will be able to edit this and have this go up tomorrow while I'm at work. And then I'm gonna film another thing right after this, and that'll go up later in the week. So, but we'll see. So let me know what you think of the products, all of that, what you think of the look. Love to hear your opinions as always. As always, thank you so much for watching. Remember to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in my next video.